Hey, everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
Oh, that was very, very aggressive with the announcements there. We're excited, I guess.
Yeah, we're ready to go. Ready to go. Hey, this is a millennial classic, I think.
This is true. We're talking about a classic from all of our childhoods, except for Andrew's. His childhood was before the movies. End of sentence. Before the movies.
Before Andrew. He was like what? You were 8 when this movie came out or something, yeah?
No, we were 8 when this movie came out. He was 40.
Well, I was 6.
Yeah, I was 6. He was 40 though. That's true. But the three of us, it's a childhood classic. We're talking about Space Jam today. Everyone's been excited for Space Jam: A New Legacy, so we're gonna talk about the first one. It's been a long time coming that there's a sequel. Everyone, of course, in our age group, I feel like anyway, knows about Space Jam. Mm-hmm. The two titans of entertainment, Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny, on screen for the first time. Of course, this is like peak Michael Jordan, really.
Yeah, this is
not so much Bugs Bunny, but
this is right before he went back to the Bulls.
Yeah, it's just his like comeback movie.
So, shockingly self-aware portrayal of himself as a middling baseball player for the Chicago White Sox organization. I don't know. Gosh, it's going to be so hard for this not to just devolve into a quote fest, I feel like.
It's possible.
But I don't know. I interrupted. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, good. That's fine. So Space Jam. Yeah. Michael Jordan has retired from basketball. He's a not so great baseball player, and he's being summoned to Toon World to help the Looney Tunes defeat the Monstars in a basketball game to end all basketball games to prevent Mr. Swackhammer. Was that his name?
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
Swackhammer and the Monstars of Moron Mountain from enslaving the Looney Tunes to perform for them. So they have turned to the greatest of all time, Michael Jordan, to help with that. Where do we want to? This is a fun one because this is the type of movie where we always get to talk about like our initial encounters with it as children. So who wants to start with that? Did anyone have an especially strong tie to Space Jam as a child?
I had all the toys, like tons of toys.
Toys.
Space Jam, huh? It was the all the Monstars, all of the branded like Looney Tune characters that came out with. You could put a little basketball in Bugs Bunny's hand. There were like 3 or 4 different Michael Jordans. I had like the 6-inch Jordan that you could play with in the little thing you can make. And then I had like the big tall Michael Jordan, that you could push a button on his back and he would say Michael A. Jordan quotes from the movie or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I don't remember going to the theater, but I do know that 95 to 96 was sort of the time period in which my parents started taking me to the movie theater. Like, you're big enough that you're not going to be a nuisance in the theater. So I remember, I think Toy Story was the first thing I ever saw in a theater. At least that's what my mom says. And I know Space Jam had to have followed up pretty quickly. I was all about it. I was obsessed. I wanted to be Michael Jordan as a kid. It just made all the sense in the world. He was the greatest basketball player of all time. And he hung out with Looney Tunes. Like, what could be better? So, sorry about that.
Someone's go on silent mode.
It's Michael. It's the Toon Squad. What? I really loved everything about it. I would write one. So as a kid, I wanted to write stories and movies and stuff. I wrote at least 3 sequels to Space Jam.
You wrote Space Jam fan fiction.
I did.
Did one of them include the King LeBron James?
No, they starred Dan Marino, and it was a football Space Jam. It was, and he was the best. He was the best. Maybe Ace Ventura influenced us. I don't know. He was the best. He was the best football player, quarterback wise of that time. There was a baseball movie. I don't remember who the baseball player was I picked for that.
Michael Jordan.
And then I had yeah, we called Michael again. We need help with this. No. I don't, and then I think I wrote one where instead of it being, I wrote one where Bugs Bunny was brought in to help some kids beat their bullies. So it was like a reverse of the Space Jam, which honestly is just as plausible as something that Warner Brothers would have come up with in the 90s as a sequel to Space Jam. But yeah, all about it. Anybody else?
Creative.
Any good Space Jam memories?
So I can remember watching it on a VHS tape a lot. Rewatching it for this, I realized how quickly I quickly realized how much of the movie I have like memorized or embedded in my brain, where, you know, those instances where it's like maybe outside of it, you would struggle to quote it, but then while it's playing, you can almost like talk along with it. It's one of those movies where I was like, I didn't even realize these are embedded in my brain. So I can remember that. And I remember being liking Michael Jordan a lot as a kid. And I was struggling to remember the Space Jam toys you were talking about, but I Googled it real quick. And I remember having these I'm going to show and see if you guys remember. These were the Space Jam McDonald's Happy Meal toys.
Yes.
That hooked together.
Yeah, you can connect them all together.
Yeah, I do remember those.
I remember having those.
Yeah, they had a really cool toy line. Not just the McDonald's one tie-in, but just a whole bunch of stuff.
I'll have to look up the rest, but I can remember watching Space Jam a lot. It was somehow an important movie to me as a child.
I also watched it a lot, but I don't really have a lot of memories. I think our Tour's Story episodes highlighted the fact that I don't remember much about like my young childhood experience memories. So those don't live there anymore. They're gone.
Had like weird experiences with your sister. And by weird,
well, it's one of those where it's always like, you know, this has just been a part of my entire life forever that I don't remember the origins of it. It's just always been there. It's always going to be there, and that's how it's going to be. But I do remember that I bowled a lot when I was a kid. And I remember they would have the little Space Jam like plush toys in the claw machine. And so I definitely had Lola, and I feel like I had a Taz as well. And those were the main toys that I had. But yeah, same thing. This movie, it just is embedded. I often find myself saying, I want to stay home and bake cookies with you in random phrases that are usually just out of context. To be honest with you, I say it a lot and couldn't fully remember where it comes from. Until I heard it again and went, okay, yes, I remember that now.
I don't want to go to school today.
And so I just, it's you know, and as far as a movie goes, like, you know, I said, Michael Jordan does a fine job. He is Michael Jordan. He talks and like that's fine. The other Looney Tunes help drive it home. And that helps save what he can minimally do. You got a great supporting cast in Wayne Knight and Bill Murray, who are just fantastic. And Larry Bird is equivalent to Michael Jordan. So like the cast is relatively solid for very inexperienced actors as far as like leads.
When they're together, Michael, Larry, Wayne, and Bill Murray, it feels very natural in that, like, you know, you're watching guys pretend to hang out, but it also feels like Bill Murray and Wayne Knight are just so good at what they do that you just end up loving it. You want to watch, like, can we get like a whole movie of just Bill Murray, Wayne Knight, Larry, and Michael golfing? It'd be hilarious.
Well, I think they did a good job with the other basketball players too. Again, they're in there for very limited things, but all that they had them do was stuff that they really know how to do. I mean, I'm sure they've gone to doctors before and had those conversations. I'm sure they've gone to therapists in some way, shape, or form and had those conversations. So like, these are all things that they're used to, and to just sit there and talk. Like, that's all we need you to do. Shake a little bit and act like your soul is getting sucked out or whatever, and then just move on. And I think that they handled it really well.
Yeah, the best part is that, you know, whether or not they are fantastic actors doesn't matter, because they got all of the basketball players, they got them to be all in, you know? So like, they're goofing it up. They're you can tell they were having a blast doing all this stuff. They're just having a great time. What about you, Andrew? Do you remember taking your high school sweetheart to this?
At the high school reunion.
No. No, I was about 11. I want to say it was about 11 whenever I saw this. I think it was about 11 whenever it came out. Came out in what, 96, 97?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I saw this. I had the VHS tape and I wore that out. I watched this movie a lot growing up. And I mean, really, I just watched it because of the basketball scenes. I loved basketball growing up. So
that's the part you read. You are a cartoon.
What? That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's just weird that you like the basketball parts of Space Jam.
Do you mean the animated basketball parts, or do you mean the live action basketball parts?
It's not real basketball.
It doesn't matter. I still had a good time watching it.
But I mean, yeah, the game is super entertaining. The big game, unless you mean the game of Patrick Ewing missing that free throw.
No, no. It like the animated game was really, really fun to watch, and I watched that just a lot growing up. I one of the very first soundtracks that I ever bought was the Space Jam soundtrack, and I loved that soundtrack growing up, except for one song.
Yeah.
Now listen, we can talk about it. The Space Jam soundtrack slaps. Agreed, without question, it slaps. That song, everybody loved it until they didn't. You don't lie. Don't lie. Do not lie.
Talking about?
Lie.
I am not lying. I really did not. I don't like that song.
Jam and welcome to the opening theme.
Oh, come on, David. Don't make me say this on TV or on the show.
Oh,
right. R. Kelly. R. Kelly. The movie opens with a hard-hitting R. Kelly song, and that doesn't age well. It's the only part of the movie that doesn't age well.
Yeah, even the graphics and stuff, they look good for the time period and the carryover.
Think about that.
Yeah.
I think the graphics look good. The Space Jam soundtrack is great. Everyone loved that song. It's like you can deny it all you want, but everybody loved it.
In my head,
now nobody does.
In my head, as a kid, Michael Jordan sang that song. Like that's what made sense to me as a child.
Metaphorically, he was the one singing that song.
It's him.
Yeah.
You know, that's what who knew who R. Kelly was when I was 6 years old, right? It didn't make sense to me.
Well, everyone.
I was like, it was still back in the time when I thought the main cast for TV shows sang the theme songs and stuff. You know, it was that type of era. So yeah, yeah.
Now,
you know what? It's still a banger. People like it. Do people say banger anymore? I don't know. It's still a great song.
Slap.
To be fair, what, Andrew? To be fair, what?
To be fair,
Okay.
Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny sing a song on the soundtrack. I do remember that.
Who are we being fair to with that fact?
No, nobody. But like
to Bugs and Daffy.
I'm not
like that.
I'm not defending. I'm not defending that Kelly guy, but I'm just saying, that soundtrack. I listened to that soundtrack a lot growing up. My favorite song in that soundtrack is "Seals Fly Like an Eagle." I love that. I really love that song.
See, that's the song I don't like.
Really?
I don't like that song. It annoys me.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one. I mean, I like pretty much everything in it in terms of the soundtrack. It's great. It's great. How could you not get excited to pretty much all of it?
Yeah. Jock jams, man. Jock jams are where it's at.
Jock jams.
Jock jams are where it's at.
I'm trying to think of one of the other ones. We did I Believe I Can Fly. We did Time Keep On Slipping, right? Yeah, that's going.
Those are the main ones. Everything else is pretty much just tune.
Basketball themes. Jones.
Oh, Basketball Jones is a good song, actually.
Which has Chris Rock.
Yeah.
It does. I also like, I don't know, do you guys have like any of the basketball players that they used as like talent? Do you guys have favorite? I was always a Muggsy fan because
Charles
he was
Barkley.
short. Yeah,
Mhm.
everybody. Yeah, I love Charles too, but like
Barkley.
I was always a hardcore Muggsy fan because he was short.
Yeah. Yeah, there was something inspirational about Muggsy. I always, even though he wasn't necessarily the most prolific player, as this movie would implicate, Sean Bradley, I was always really fascinated by as a kid because he's just so tall. He's the opposite end of Muggsy Bogues. He's like 7'6". He's a humongous individual. So I was always really fascinated by him. Patrick Ewing, how could you not? I mean, I'm not a Knicks guy, but Patrick Ewing, one of the greats. So
I will say that I really had like. I really liked Patrick Ewing, and I didn't know who the tall guy was, so I'm glad you said his name. So, but like, yeah, now that I know who that is, it's like he had very little effort making a goal. It's just like, yep, there we go. So, and I just thought I'm like, man, that guy is like incredibly tall. So, yeah, those are the two that I really liked.
He was the original Yao Ming.
Let's talk about the Looney Tunes, though.
Oh, of course. How could we not?
Secondary stars, the Looney Tunes. So, love them, obviously. I think what I like the most about them is how meta they are as a property. The Warner Brothers cartoon universe coexists in real life, and like that's kind of how it's always been. The Animaniacs live in the Warner Brothers tower on the lot, and then the Looney Tunes have a Toon World. I wish that the Animaniacs were in this, but the time frames don't add up. So, but I really love a lot of the smart, self-referential comedy in the Looney Tunes. I'm trying to think of a favorite. It's hard to pick a favorite because they all have pretty good moments to shine. I really do like towards the end during the game when Daffy questions Bill Murray on how he got there, and he was like, I'm friends with the producer," and Daffy was like, "So that's how it is." It's very funny.
It's actually very funny.
Very funny line that a child wouldn't understand because the child doesn't understand that it's a movie.
And the best part is that it's actually true to an extent. I didn't even know the depths of it to this point, but I think one of the producers of the show was I think his name's Eric Reitman. It's the son of
Ivan
Reitman. So it's kind of like, I don't know if Bill was just like they said, Bill, just say whatever you want here or what, but it's
probably.
I think for me as a kid, this was always the case. For me, the gem of the movie is Daffy Duck, because whereas Bugs is funny in this. He's very hilarious, but Bugs has like that kind of cool factor of like nothing to prove. Whereas Daffy feels like he's just constantly, Daffy always has felt like he's second the real Bugs. Star, but he's always treated second best. Every line Daffy has is hilarious. I'm trying to think about when they're going through the kid's house, or not the kids, they're going through Michael's house, and they're just flipping around. And it's like, oh, you know what? Great line is when they're in the golf course and they're coming back and he's like, how about this for a new team name? The Ducks. Great, right? And then you get some meta humor with Bugs going, now what kind of Mickey Mouse organization would name their team the Ducks?
Yeah, that was good.
Hilarious.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed, what I like about the Toons is that, and they're relatively popular in this time frame, but not their height, I would say. And so this kind of elevated them a little bit. But then the Looney Tunes, for some reason, are always around, but never popular anymore. So like in this upcoming one, I question how popular the Looney Tunes are with the younger crowd that it might be targeting. Are they going to be going because of LeBron, or are they going to be going because of the Tunes? I feel like for us, a lot of us went because of Michael Jordan, but we also had a working knowledge and a relatively strong knowledge of who the Looney Tunes were. I don't know how prevalent they are anymore in the current time period. Like, I'm sure that they know who they are, but I feel like their grasp is not as strong as even ours was at the time.
Warner Brothers knew that too, because, and we'll obviously go into this deeper next time, but Space Jam: A New Legacy is based on trailers, is essentially another type of Ready Player One, where it's just tons of WB IP. It's not just the Looney Tunes like this movie is.
Yeah.
Well, the trailer has the Iron Giant and
Pennywise,
random characters. Pennywise, yeah. So I feel like they may have considered that, and that's why they also lean on other properties. Game of Thrones, there's a Game of Thrones world shown in the new trailer.
You can say what you will about the difference between Looney Tunes and the Disney Tunes. Whereas, like which ones you prefer, which ones you don't. But Disney, and say what you want about Disney and Warner Brothers, Disney's done a much better job at keeping Mickey and Friends relevant for the last, I don't know, you could say 20, 25 years, with having various kids shows for, you to find Mickey and them, and then having, reboots of DuckTales and keeping those kind of things in the public eye. Whereas Warner Brothers, it seems like every time they try to greenlight a new Looney Tunes thing, they try to aim for a crowd that's not, I don't think is interested. They're trying to aim for like older teens or something like that. I was trying to think of those most recent Looney Tunes shows, and I see them pop up on TikToks every now and again, but like, I can't tell you the last time that I just don't feel like I think you're right, Garrett. I don't know if kids are as aware of who the Looney Tunes are these days. And I was really a big fan of them back then, because in the 90s, Cartoon Network still had reruns of Looney Tunes cartoons. They had the Acme Hour, and they would run just a full hour of, 5-minute shorts, 7-minute shorts featuring Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, all of them. So they were still really prevalent in the 90s. I don't think they are as much anymore.
Andrew, what about you? What are your feelings towards the Looney Tunes in the movie, or just overall?
I would think the thing is that like, this is the one movie that like everybody our age remembers. And I mean, like, I can't name another movie where everybody that can talk about this. You
can pretty much walk up to a stranger and go, "You seen Space Jam?" And they go, "Yep."
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and the thing is that it has such like a pop culture factor, because like it combines two worlds in total, and you're combining sports with animation, and I don't know. The thing is that like, when you think about it, like what popular animation is there today? I mean, you could probably think of like maybe SpongeBob. Rick and Morty, SpongeBob, but even SpongeBob. I'm talking about anything that's like current.
Yeah,
like SpongeBob's not current, is he?
Well, it's not as current as
SpongeBob's current.
They've kept SpongeBob going.
They've kept
SpongeBob going in some form or another for a long time. SpongeBob had a movie just last year, so they've kept SpongeBob fairly prominent, and prominent enough that the kids who watched SpongeBob when he came on TV in 2000, well, he came on in like 99 or something like that. But the kids who grew up with him in the aughts are in their teens now, when they can be spending money on a movie. I think the main audience here is going to be us, is going to be the fans who have kids now. Now, granted, my kid is only 5 months, but there are other people my age who grew up watching Space Jam who have like kids that are like 7, 8 years old. And so like the goal is, let's get the parents who love this movie to bring their kids and introduce them to the Looney Tunes. I would think that would be the goal.
Well, and you also have LeBron James. I would think that if anybody's going to go see this, it's the LeBron James factor, because LeBron James is he's a big name. I mean, he's a big name, so he's not going anywhere, at least not for a while. But like, he's today's Michael Jordan.
I just had a thought. Do we think there's any kind of chance that because again, Warner Brothers does a good job with the meta. They do a good job with like referencing real life stuff, especially with the Looney Tunes there. Do we reference Space Jam, the original? And in a bonus question that's less likely, does Michael Jordan make a surprise appearance?
In the new one?
In the new one. Is the original Space Jam referenced in any way, shape, or form as like Remember when we had to do that basketball game that one other time?
Yes.
Or will Michael Jordan show up in like a surprise scene somewhere?
I think they'll absolutely reference the first movie. Michael Jordan, I would say, I'm going to give him like a 20% chance of showing up.
I would say if he does, it's going to be like maybe 3 seconds.
Yeah,
3 to 5 seconds in total.
They're going to reference it, and I believe a Michael Jordan will show up.
Yeah.
That's the way that I feel I feel like they will also definitely reference the past. And I do feel like that I would be surprised, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Michael Jordan show up at some point in time in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how, but it would be cool if they kept that a secret somehow.
Yes. Now, it's coming out now, I think it's actually, as of this recording, it's coming out now, or is out now. I've not watched it yet, so I've decided to say I'm going in blind soon.
None of us have seen it yet.
I don't know. Like, are there any Looney Tunes we're excited to see, or we have most of them already been shown? Because I haven't watched any promotional material for it. I didn't watch any of the trailers, so I still have no idea.
I personally,
what even the premise is yet, other than I play basketball.
I will always enjoy the Looney Tunes and seeing them on screen. I have a question about Lola, because does Lola only show up in Space Jam movies? Did they integrate her into the series? Because I only have ever seen her in Space Jam and never anywhere else.
I don't remember what the name of the show specifically was called, but they did a Looney Tunes show in the...
It was just the Looney Tunes show.
Let's say, yeah, that might have been it, in the mid 2010s, like, I don't know, 2014 era, 2013. And Lola, it was, here we go. It was a sitcom style show, and it featured Lola Bunny. Bugs and Daffy were your main characters. You had Porky Pig and Lola there too. And then Lola also appeared, I think, do you guys remember this? The brief Looney Tune Babies show. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
This was not Tiny Toons. This was Looney Tune Babies, where it was Muppet Babies, but with Looney Tunes, and Lola was a character there. So I think they tried, but the thing is, because she doesn't come from that original era, and because they don't make animated shorts anymore, it's so hard to really like completely put her in the Looney Tunes pantheon, because like there's no archival, there's nothing you can bring back and be like, hey, look at this old clip from 1967.
At one point in time, I feel like there was, and I think it was on one of the original Warner Brothers streaming services, where they had a bunch of Looney Tunes shorts. I don't remember what they were called or where they were, if they're still around. I'm sure you can find them somewhere, but they were the ones that I saw were very funny. And I feel like that's, if they want to get Looney Tunes back in action, that's the way they do it, is they start with the shorts, you put them in front of movies, you release them like in front of your little Warner Brothers movies. Have a quick Looney Tunes short, and then you kind of build on that again. But like they're so far out of your frame, you have to integrate them slowly. And I mean, this will work, but then throw out those shorts in front of the movies to build on this reinitiation of them.
Yeah, or heck, even just show the old ones.
You watch.
I would rather sit through a Bugs Bunny cartoon than eight movie trailers.
If you watch the first Space Jam on HBO Max, it opens with a trailer for the new season of the Looney Tunes on HBO Max.
Perfect.
But it is about time to move on, so I'll ask for any final thoughts on the first Space Jam movie before we switch gears over to box office.
I do want to say, just want to throw out a nice little comment that I really think that they did a good job for the time period with the hybrid animation style, merging the two together. It never felt weird as a kid. Even looking at it now, it still fits. To me, it never seems wonky, even when you bring Michael into the animated world. Granted, that looks a little bit weirder, but man, hybrid animation, bringing an animated character into the real world or vice versa, is such a long, storied practice. So much longer than most people even realize. There's a great article about it right now on letterboxd.com. I know we don't work for them, but I'm going to promote this anyway.
Do it.
If you go to letterboxd.com and you look up the article Blurring the Line, it talks about the history of hybrid animation, even going back to, I think, one of the first ones ever back in 1919 Max Fleischer's Out of the Ink Bottle, where Betty Boop and this clown character come out and they're in the real world. So it's a long story thing. A lot of people want to think that like it started with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but it's been going on for pretty much as long as we've had films. It's just a fascination of animators and filmmakers alike. So I think they did a good job here.
Cool.
I do want to point one thing out. This has been something like this, like Space Jam is so just cultish to me. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is that like, it's not a popular movie, but it's not a popular movie then. I mean, it was like roasted whenever it came out, but now it's like more popular than ever.
Oh yeah.
And its legacy has lived on.
Well,
one thing I do want to point out is that the original website created in 1966 or 1996 has not changed, and you can still access it.
Didn't they change it? Did they change it back?
No, they haven't. Like I'm on it actually right now, and awesome. Everything still looks the same from like when they first launched it. And
great.
It's crazy that they just did nothing with it. So like, but no, like it's just those little quirks that I would find really interesting about this movie, because this movie has so much to it, you know, and that the fact that we're talking about it even today makes it that much more memorable and worthy of talking about it.
It found its audience. Its audience was kids, you know. Yeah. We talked about Mortal Kombat. We've talked about Power Rangers. These movies that like probably as adults our age, you know, people our age back then were like, kids are stupid. These movies are terrible. But as a kid, this was like your entire imagination was on screen. It was awesome.
Yep.
So anyway, we'll jump to the box office stuff now.
Yeah. While it was critically not loved, it was in fact quite the hit, was it not?
It was. So, you know, for a little bit of frame of reference, the average movie ticket price in 1996 was $4.42. And this movie brought in $27.5 million opening weekend, which was very good, much better than I think most people had anticipated back then. The opening, try this out for an opening week. Really nothing stands out to me. At number 2 that weekend, it opened number 1. At number 2 with 22 million, you had a movie called Ransom. Number 3, The Mirror Has Two Faces, brought in 12.2. And number 4, a movie called Set It Off, brought in 5.8. And at number 5, it's Romeo. I like to say Romeo plus Juliet, everybody's favorite student film about starring Leonardo DiCaprio. But that was a few weeks into its run. Space Jam would go on to make $90.4 million, which was very good for 1996, and is still regarded, I think, you know, things have changed. There's been a lot of hybrid movies in the category to kind of push it down. You like a thing like even Scooby-Doo is considered a hybrid animation movie. So that category is really kind of strained. If we go back to 1996, the highest grossing movie, I think we talked about this very recently, because this is the same year that Mortal Kombat came out. So you may remember this from when we talked about 1996. Sorry, I'm doing this on my phone because my computer's messed up.
That always makes it harder.
It is much harder. So let's go back. 1996, way back. Okay, I got time. Independence Day. That's all. I'll just leave it there. Independence Day.
That's that movie.
Twister. Well, domestically.
Oh, right.
I didn't care to
big
go
year. Big year. Twister, which is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. And same thing.
96. 96 was a good year for movies.
Yeah.
And so is this one.
Yeah. I forgot I won the Letterbox game. Still can't find that hat. I won the Letterbox game last week, so I'll just transition right into that unless you guys have any questions.
Nope. Let's play.
So, guys, if you will, travel back in your minds to 1996. It's Space Jam starring Michael Jordan and the Looney Tunes and Wayne Knight, who steals the show. The mouse? You picked the mouse?
Who wants to guess first? Anybody? David's pulling it up. Anybody?
Yeah, I'll spoil myself a little bit and say I'm gonna guess the same score that I'm gonna give it, which is a 3, an even 3.
Three. Hey, there it is.
Oh,
Letterboxd Letterboxd game began. A 3 from Josh. Yes. This is where we go to our favorite site, Letterboxd.
Yes.
I am going to do a 3.2.
3.2 from Andrew.
He got close, but I was going to do a 3.3, so everybody's happy.
Keeping it close. All right. With thousands.
It's 3.1.
Thousands of reviews on Letterboxd. The winner this week, and it's a much needed win. It's Andrew.
Whoa.
Wins the big one. Space Jam exactly a 3.2 on Letterboxd right now. It'll be very interesting to see where the new one lands on that.
Yeah, it will.
To read some top reviews, Ethan gives it 5 stars. He calls it the greatest documentary I've ever seen.
Oh my God, I was 100% going to say that in my review is just a joke. Wow, wavelengths right there.
So Courtney says Michael Jordan is so noble that he offers himself into slavery in order to free the Looney Tunes, despite having met them just moments ago and having a wife and 3 kids at home.
Don't read anymore. Go. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was funny.
So, like I said, it's a 3-star for me. I recently saw somebody say Space Jam is not a good movie. You are just too nostalgic. And to that, I say, crap. It is a good movie.
To that, I say, totally. I don't know. It's totally a thing. I don't know.
Sure.
I mean,
I give it a. I will also give it a 3. Starts with a 3.
Okay.
I'm going to give it, I think, a 3.5.
Okay.
Because 3.5 also sits in this place in my head where if someone offered to put it on, I would not decline it. Some movies people go, hey, you want to watch
3.5 for me. That's also where I'm at.
Yep.
It's 3.5.
3.
All right.
That gives us a 3.2.
That is our score for Space Jam. So find us online at somanysequels.com where you can find all our links. We'll see you next time with Space Jam: A New Legacy.